Okay, let's dive right in. The date is Saturday, January 24th, 2026.
Right.
And if you have been anywhere near a screen, a news feed, heck, even just a coffee shop in the last couple of days, you know exactly what is happening.
Or what's about to happen.
Exactly what's about to happen. The eyes of, pretty much the whole world are fixed on Taipei, Taiwan right now.
On the Taipei 101 skyscraper.
It's an absolute monster of a building. It looks like a giant shimmering stack of noodle boxes just reaching into the clouds.
It's 1,667 feet,
Yeah.
all glass and steel and aluminum.
And for a while there, it was the tallest building on the planet.
Yeah, until 2010. It's a vertical city.
Mm-hmm.
And right now it's the stage for, it might be one of the most stressful pieces of live television ever made.
No kidding. We're talking about Skyscraper Live over on Netflix. And the protagonist, the main character, is, of course, Alex Honnold.
The man who free soloed El Capitan.
The man who looked at a 3,000-foot wall of granite and said, yeah, I don't need a rope.
And now he's in Taipei. He's preparing to climb this building.
No ropes, no harness.
No net.
Nothing. Just his hands, his feet.
Yeah.
And 1,600 feet of nothing between him and the street.
And this is the immediate twist in the story.
Yeah.
If you tuned in last night, you didn't see a climb, you saw a postponement screen.
Right. And that little detail, that context, is actually so important for what we're talking about today. The climb was set for Friday night, U.S. time.
Saturday morning in Taipei.
But
it got pushed back a full 24 hours.
Because of rain?
Because of rain. A weather system rolled in, a little bit of drizzle, some mist.
So now the whole thing is set for tonight, Saturday, January 24th, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Which is Sunday morning for him, local time.
And to most people, the casual viewer, that probably just looks like a production delay, like, oh, the game got rained out, see you tomorrow.
Sure.
But for this deep dive, that rain delay, that is a huge piece of the puzzle. It tells you something really important about his mind. Because that's what we're here to do, isn't it? We're trying to figure out, when you look at someone like Alex Honnold, standing at the bottom of a skyscraper, getting ready to do something that, my palms are sweating just talking about it.
Mine too.
The question everyone asks is the same one. It's not, how strong are his fingers? It's what is going on inside his head?
It's the question, is he brave?
Yeah.
Is he crazy? Is he suicidal? Or is his brain just running on a completely different operating system?
Right. To the average person just scrolling through Netflix, this has to look like a death wish. It just looks insane.
Absolutely.
And that gets us to the mission for this deep dive. We're calling it the Psyche File. And we've pulled together all the sources. We've got the latest reports on the Taipei climb, AP, the Mirror. We have a great interview transcript Alex did with Adam Grant,
the organizational psychologist.
Yeah, and we've got a heavy-hitting scientific article from Nautilus. It covers a study, a really specific study done on Alex's brain back in 2016.
And that study is where this whole thing has to start. Because for a long, long time, there was this kind of barstool theory that Alex Honnold just couldn't feel fear. Not that he controlled it, but that he was physically incapable of it.
The broken brain hypothesis?
Exactly. The idea that he's some kind of biological anomaly.
Yeah.
A mutant.
Okay, so let's get into that, because this is the hook. This is what grabbed me from the start. So 2016, a neuroscientist, Jane Joseph.
At the Medical University of South Carolina.
Right. She decides to actually test this theory. She's like, let's look under the hood. She puts Alex Honnold inside an fMRI machine. Now, for anyone listening who hasn't, hung out in a radiology department, what exactly is an fMRI?
So an MRI, a regular one, is just a giant magnet that takes pictures of your anatomy, your bones, your organs. But an fMRI, the F stands for functional.
Yeah.
It tracks blood flow in your brain.
Okay.
The idea is pretty simple. When a part of your brain is working hard, needs more fuel, it needs oxygen. So blood rushes to that area.
And the machine sees that.
The machine sees that rush of blood, and it lights up on the scan. It's a real-time map of brain activity.
Got it. So she puts him in there, but she doesn't just let him, take a nap. She shows him a series of, 200 high arousal images?
Oh, 200, yeah. And when scientists say high arousal, they do not mean, pretty pictures of sunsets or puppies. No. These are images that are specifically chosen to trigger a deep gut-level threat response. We were talking about photos of corpses with horrific facial trauma.
Jeez.
A toilet just overflowing with feces, which triggers disgust, right? A very close cousin of fear. Burning children. And then, mixed in with all that, were some exhilarating but dangerous climbing photos.
Just a nonstop House of Horrors slideshow.
Pretty much. And the whole point is to light up one specific part of the brain.
The amygdala.
The amygdala.
Okay, let's define that real quick, because you hear that term thrown around all the time in, like, pop psychology.
Sure. So the amygdala is this small almond-shaped cluster of neurons deep inside your temporal lobe. It's often called the brain's fear center, but it's really more like a threat detection system.
The alarm bell.
The alarm bell. Perfect.
Yeah.
When you see something dangerous, like a snake or a fire, your senses send an immediate, high-priority message straight to the amygdala.
And it goes off.
It lights up, and that triggers the whole fight-or-flight response. Your heart starts racing. Your palms get sweaty. Your pupils dilate. That feeling of dread in your stomach.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens before you even have a conscious thought about it.
It's pure survival instinct.
Predates logic completely.
So Jane Joseph shows all these horrific images to Alex. But to know if his brain is weird, she needs something to compare it to. She has a control subject, right?
She does. She brings in another rock climber, similar age, a guy who also scores really high on what's called sensation seeking.
So another adrenaline junkie?
Theoretically, yes. A comparable brain, or so you'd think.
And what happened when they showed the pictures to the control guy?
His amygdala lit up, and I'm quoting the study here, like a Christmas tree.
Wow.
He sees the burning kids, he sees the bodies, and his brain is just screaming, threat, danger, horror. The chemical flood was instantaneous. He was terrified.
And Alex?
Nothing.
Come on, nothing.
Zero. No activation. The scan of his amygdala was just gray, lifeless.
So was he even awake?
That's the thing. The only part of his brain that was lighting up was the visual cortex, which basically means his brain was going, yep, I'm awake. I'm looking at a picture. I can see pixels and shapes.
But the emotional alarm bell?
Total silence.
That is just, it's wild.
It's so stunning that a neurobiologist who saw the scans later told the explorer, Mark Sinnott, quote, that kid's amygdala isn't firing.
They thought the machine was broken.
They literally did. They paused the experiment to check if the scanner was malfunctioning.
So what did Alex say about it? When he gets out of the tube, is he, like, hiding the fact that he's traumatized?
Not even close. He told the researchers that he found the images, and I love this, dated and jaded.
Dated and jaded.
He compared the whole thing to a curio museum. His literal quote was, I was like, whatever.
Whatever. He's looking at photos of burning children. He's like, seen worse.
That reaction, you combine that with the gray scan, well, that just poured gasoline on the media fire. Mm-hmm. This whole narrative that Alex Honnold has a broken brain.
That he's a mutant.
That the only reason he can do what he does, whether it's LCAP or Taipei 101, is because he's missing the basic hardware to feel afraid.
It's a really compelling story.
It is.
Because it makes him into, like, a comic book character, right? The man with no fear. And it's almost comforting for the rest of us.
Oh, sure.
It gives us an excuse. Oh, I could never do that, but that's because I have a normal functioning brain. He doesn't.
Right. It pathologizes his talent.
Yeah.
It makes it something alien.
And this is where it gets really, really interesting. This is the pivot point for our whole deep dive.
Right.
Because if you actually listen to Alex, and if you dig deeper into the science in that same Nautilus article, that whole broken brain theory, it's not just an oversimplification.
It's just wrong.
It's wrong.
It's fundamentally incorrect. And you know who hates that theory more than anyone?
Alex himself.
He absolutely hates it.
He does. In that interview with Adam Grant, he pushes back so hard on this idea. He completely rejects the notion that he has no fear.
Well, because if you assume he has no fear, you're diminishing the achievement. You're saying it's easy for him.
Exactly. And if you look at his history, his early days, it just doesn't hold up.
Yeah.
There's this story he tells from when he was, 19 years old? He was trying his first big free solo, a route called Corrugation Corner.
Right. And physically, this was a route that was well within his abilities.
Oh, yeah. He should have been able to practically walk up it. It was way below his limit.
But he was terrified.
He was absolutely petrified. He talks about over-gripping the rock.
Which, for any non-climbers listening, means you're squeezing the holds way, way harder than you need to.
Because you're scared to death of letting go, but it just burns out your muscles faster. He's clinging to this wall, totally convinced he's going to fall and die.
That is not the behavior of a man with a broken amygdala.
No, that's a normal, terrified kid.
Okay, so there's the puzzle. You've got a terrified 19-year-old on one side, and on the other, you have a 30-year-old whose amygdala doesn't even flicker in an MRI scanner.
So the question is, what happened in between?
And that's the real story here.
That is the meat of this deep dive.
Yeah.
The correction. It's not a mutation.
It's a callus.
It's the perfect metaphor, and it's one he uses himself. Think about it with your hands, right?
Okay.
If you start lifting heavy weights or doing manual labor, your hands get soft and blistered at first. It hurts. The skin tears.
Yeah, of course.
But if you keep doing it day after day, week after week, the skin hardens, it builds a callus, and eventually you can handle rough, sharp things that would just tear a normal person's hands to shreds.
And he's done that to his mind.
He has done that exact thing to his amygdala.
This is a real psychological concept. It's called habituation or desensitization.
So how do you do that? How do you build a callus on your brain's fear center? Do you just scare yourself over and over again?
Sort of, yes. But it has to be systematic. This is the key.
Okay.
Alex makes this point very clearly. For every one hard, death-defying climb he free solos, he has already soloed hundreds of easy ones.
It wasn't like he just woke up one morning and decided to climb El Capitan without a rope.
Not at all.
Oh.
It was a slow, grinding, gradual expansion of his comfort zone over many, many years.
He calls it mental armor.
And there is real hard science that backs this up. A researcher named Marie Monfils, she talks about this concept called reconsolidation of memory.
Okay, let's unpack that. Reconsolidation. Sounds like you're refinancing a mortgage.
It sounds a bit like that, but it's actually more like editing a document.
Okay.
So for a long time, the old model of memory was that it's like a file in a filing cabinet. You have an experience, heights are scary, you create the memory, you file it away, and it stays there forever, unchanged.
Set in stone.
Right. But what modern neuroscience is showing us is that every single time you recall a memory, every time you pull that file out of the cabinet, it becomes malleable again. It enters what they call a labile state.
So you can edit the file?
You can rewrite the file, exactly. So if you have a scary memory, let's say being high up on a wall, and you revisit that memory or that actual situation while you are calm and safe and in control, you can actually change the emotional tag that's attached to that memory. You can change the tag from terror to normal.
So Alex has spent, 20 years climbing? Constantly exposing himself to heights and exposure, and every time he goes up on a wall and doesn't die and doesn't panic.
He's rewriting that neural pathway.
He's teaching his brain, bit by bit, this situation is not a threat.
Precisely. And that explains the MRI scan perfectly.
Yeah.
It's not that his amygdala is broken. It's that his brain, through thousands and thousands of repetitions, has learned that the stimulus, whether it's a picture of a dead body or the feeling of being 1,000 feet up, is not an immediate threat that requires a full-blown panic response.
He's just trained his threat detection system to be incredibly specific and maybe a little bit lazy.
Yeah. It's like he's told it, look, don't bother me unless I'm actually falling.
It reminds me of what he said about the images. He didn't say he didn't see them or understand them. He said they felt like a curio museum.
He'd emotionally distanced himself.
He'd put them in a different box in his head.
Right. And this brings us to another layer of his personality profile from that Nautilus article. Because it's not just about the exposure. It's about who Alex is, fundamentally.
The super sensation seeker.
Yes. So they gave him these psychological surveys, like the Zuckerman sensation-seeking scale.
An error.
He scores off the charts, like twice as high as the average person. He craves intensity, he loves speed, he loves heights, he loves risk.
Which, that usually sounds like a recipe for disaster, right? You hear high sensation seeker and you think of someone who's incredibly impulsive.
Exactly. You think of gambling, drug use, driving way too fast, the whole live fast, die young crowd.
That's the typical profile. Impulsivity and sensation seeking usually go hand in hand.
But Alex is a complete paradox.
Because he also scores incredibly high on conscientiousness.
Extremely high.
Oh.
And conscientiousness is the personality trait that's associated with discipline, with focus, with planning, with finishing tasks. It's almost boring.
It's the trait of a good accountant.
It is. So what you have is this incredibly rare combination. He has the cravings of a daredevil, but the meticulous discipline of an accountant.
And that's his secret weapon.
That's his superpower, according to Jane Joseph, the neuroscientist. He has this super sensation seeker engine that is demanding these high-octane experiences. But he also has a powerful regulatory braking system in his frontal cortex.
His logic center.
His logic and planning center. It's so strong that it can just clamp down on the amygdala and say, nope, we're fine, we've done the math, keep going.
That distinction, it really shines a light on the Taipei 101 climb we're all waiting for. Because if he was just a thrill seeker...
He might have tried to climb in the rain last night.
Exactly. A pure sensation seeker might have said, let's go. The rain just adds to the rush. It'll be a better story.
But the conscientious accountant side of Alex's brain said, hold on. The friction coefficient of wet glass and metal is unacceptably low. The risk is unmanageable. We wait.
Which leads us perfectly into his whole method, because Alex has this very specific way of looking at risk that I think, honestly, I think we can all learn from this, even if we have no plans to climb a skyscraper.
Yep.
He separates the idea of fear from the idea of danger.
This is absolutely critical to his entire philosophy.
So how does he define them? What's the difference?
Okay, so for Alex, danger is the external reality. It's objective. It's physics. It's the statistical likelihood of falling and dying.
It's a fact.
It's a fact.
Yeah.
Fear, on the other hand, is the internal, subjective, emotional reaction to that danger.
So danger is real, but fear is just a feeling.
Yes. And his whole strategy is built on that. It's actually quite simple. If you prepare enough, you mitigate the danger. If you are skilled enough and strong enough, and you know the route inside and out, the danger, the actual probability of you falling, becomes incredibly low. And, his logic follows, if the danger is low, then the fear should also be low.
It's just logic over emotion, pure rationality.
He even compares fear to hunger.
I loved this analogy in the Adam Grant interview. It is so pragmatic.
It really is. He basically says, why do we treat fear so differently than hunger? You know, hunger is just a signal. It's information from your body saying, hey, I need fuel.
Right. You don't scream and run around in a panic when you feel hungry.
No. You just note it. You say, okay, I'm hungry. I'll eat lunch in about an hour.
And he treats fear the exact same way. It's just data. Oh, I'm feeling fear right now. That means this section requires more attention. He doesn't let it hijack the whole system.
And this is the important part. To get to that point, you have to do the work. You have to earn that rationality.
Which brings us to the preparation for El Cap. Because the free solo climb, when you look at it, it wasn't a stunt. It was a masterpiece of preparation.
He spent years just thinking about it.
Years. And he didn't just, climb the route a few times with the rope. He memorized it.
We are talking about 3,000 feet of vertical granite. He memorized every single handhold, every foothold. He knew exactly where his left thumb needed to go on pitch 23.
It's not climbing anymore at that point. It's a dance. It's choreography.
He calls it turning terror into homework. That's the phrase he uses. He took the scariest, most intimidating parts of the climb, and he just rehearsed them over and over and over until they were just rote memorization.
And this is where his use of visualization comes in, which I found fascinating, because I think when most people hear visualization, they think of, picturing yourself winning.
Positive thinking. Manifesting success.
Right. But Alex, he does something much darker.
Much darker. He didn't just visualize success. He systematically practiced negative visualization.
What does that even mean?
He would lie in his van at the base of the cliff, and you would imagine slipping. You would imagine the feeling of wind rushing past him as he fell. You would imagine hitting the ground. You'd imagine bleeding out.
My God, why? Why on earth would you put those thoughts in your own head?
To desensitize himself to them.
Yeah.
It's an inoculation. If you have already imagined the absolute worst-case scenario 1,000 times, if you've already confronted the idea of your own death in your mind over and over,
then when you're actually on the wall and the thought pops into your head,
it doesn't have the power to paralyze you. You've already processed it. It's familiar territory.
It's exposure therapy, but just inside his own imagination.
It's exactly that. So by the time he actually stepped onto the wall for the real free solo, he wasn't. He wasn't having this epic battle with his demons. He wasn't feeling a rush.
He was just executing a script.
He was on autopilot.
He describes it as being in a flow state. He says in that kind of cutting-edge soloing, he's often not thinking at all. He's just performing.
Yeah. The fear is gone because the preparation has made the danger manageable, and the visualization has made the consequences familiar.
It's incredibly intense, but it clearly works. And he uses other little mental tricks too, right? In that Adam Grant interview, they talked about cognitive reappraisal.
Right, which is just a fancy psychological term for a surprisingly simple trick.
It's about changing the label you put on an emotion.
Exactly. So instead of feeling that physiological arousal and saying, I'm afraid,
you say,
I'm excited. Because if you think about it, physiologically, fear and excitement are almost identical.
High heart rate, adrenaline, hyper-alertness.
The body doesn't really know the difference. It's the mind that slaps the label on it. It's the story you tell yourself. If you interpret that racing heart as fear, you freeze up. If you interpret it as excitement or readiness, you perform.
And Alex seems to do that instinctively. Oh, I feel amped up. Great, I'm ready to go.
He also uses something called self-distancing. Did you notice in the film how he talks to himself?
Yeah, he uses you.
Right. He doesn't say, I can do this. He says, you can do this, or you're over-gripping, relax.
He's coaching himself from the outside.
It creates this little bit of separation. It turns him into the observer of his own performance, not just the terrified participant. It helps him step out of that immediate emotional storm and look at the situation more objectively.
It's like he splits himself into two people. There's the climber, the body, and then there's the controller, the mind.
And that binary approach, that on-off switch, it extends to his whole life. He talks about being on program versus off program.
This is his whole diet and lifestyle philosophy.
Yeah. When he's on program, he is an absolute machine. Eating perfectly, training perfectly, climbing, no dessert, no slack whatsoever.
And when he's preparing for something big and dangerous, he is 100% on program.
And off program.
That's dessert, watching movies, being a bit more lax. But the key is that he can compartmentalize. He can put the risk in its own little box so he can focus 100% on just the movement.
Which brings us all the way back to today, Saturday, January 24, 2026, Taipei 101.
So how does all this psychology, all these techniques apply to what he is about to do tonight on that skyscraper?
Well, let's look at the specifics of this stunt. Alex has analyzed Taipei 101, and in his mind, this is a very different challenge from El Capitan.
He called the building a ladder.
He did. And you know what? From a purely technical climbing perspective, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
The building has these deep window ledges. It has consistent spacing, solid materials, compared to, say, a 5.14 rock climb where you're hanging by your fingertips off a razor-sharp crystal of granite.
Taipei 101 is physically easy for him.
The danger, in terms of pure difficulty, is relatively low for someone of his skill level.
But the consequence is absolute.
100%. If you slip on an easy ladder, you still fall 1,600 feet.
So that's why the why is so important here. Why do this?
He told reporters that it's, quote, hard enough to be interesting, but easy enough to be engaging.
So he sees it as an athletic performance, not a coin toss.
But there are variables here that he doesn't have on a rock face he knows intimately. El Capitan doesn't change. But a building in a city.
And specifically, the weather.
That's the wild card. On a rock, he knows every hold. On a building, the texture of the glass, the metal, that can change dramatically with humidity and, obviously, with rain.
Which is why the postponement last night is so incredibly significant.
It proves that his frontal cortex brake is fully engaged and working. The pressure on him to climb must have been immense.
Oh, for sure. You have Netflix, you have millions of dollars on the line, you have a global audience tuned in and waiting.
A lesser mind, a more impulsive mind, would have succumbed to that pressure and said, you know what, I'll risk it.
But Alex waited.
He waited. Netflix and the organizers put out a statement saying safety was their top priority. And Alex himself is quoted as saying, I've always wanted to survive.
That's such a great quote. I've always wanted to survive. It just completely dismantles the idea that he's suicidal or has a death wish.
No, he believes he's controlling the outcome. He's not rolling the dice. He's doing a math problem. And if a new variable like rain makes the math problem unsolvable, he just doesn't do it.
But the public doesn't always see the math problem, do they? They just see a guy dangling off the side of a building. And there has been backlash.
A huge amount of backlash. Critics are calling this voyeuristic. One columnist called it ghoulish.
The idea that we're all tuning in just to watch a man potentially die.
Right. And he has a family now, which complicates the public perception.
Yeah, he has a wife, Sani, 2 daughters, June and Alice.
Does that change the calculus for him?
He says it hasn't changed his view on risk itself, but it massively emphasizes his desire to survive.
Because in his mind, he's not taking a gamble with their future. He's executing a skill to provide for them.
In that Adam Grant interview, he talked about the concept of honor.
That was a profound moment.
Yeah. He defined honor as living the correct path or doing what you were capable of.
That's a really fascinating definition. It's not about glory or fame.
No, it's about fulfilling your potential. An obligation to do the things you are uniquely built to do, even if that potential terrifies everyone else on the planet.
Okay, so as we wrap this all up and as we all get ready to watch this thing tonight, let's synthesize. What is the final verdict from the Psyche file?
The verdict is, it's crystal clear. Alex Honnold does not have a broken brain.
He is not a medical anomaly. He's not a mutant.
No. What we are all about to watch on Taipei 101 is not the stunt of a madman. It's the result of a lifetime of conditioning.
He has taken a normal, healthy brain, and through decades of exposure, discipline, and cognitive reframing, he has meticulously trained it to interpret high-altitude exposure as normal.
He built the callus.
He built the callus.
Yeah.
And, honestly, that is so much more impressive than if he just had a broken amygdala.
Oh, way more impressive.
If he couldn't feel fear, this would just be a physics problem.
Yeah.
But because he can feel fear, and he has chosen to master it, that is a triumph of human achievement.
And that, right there, that's the takeaway for us. For you, listening to this, I'm never going to free solo a skyscraper.
Please don't.
Please, nobody listening, go try and free solo a skyscraper. Okay. But we all have our own little corrugation corners.
Absolutely. Giving a presentation at work, asking for a raise, having a difficult conversation.
Exactly. We can't all free solo, but we can all use reconsolidation. We can expose ourselves to our smaller fears, survive them, and slowly rewrite that file in our brains.
We can all practice turning I'm terrified into I'm excited.
We can build our own calluses.
Step by step, pitch by pitch.
I love that. So tonight, when you turn on Netflix at 8 p.m. Eastern and you watch Alex Honnold start to scale Taipei 101, don't just look at his hands and his feet.
Think about his head.
Yeah. Watch the calm, watch the precision, and just realize that you are watching a masterpiece of psychological engineering happening in real time.
It's going to be one heck of a show.
It sure is. And hey, here's one final thought to leave you with, something to chew on while you're watching. We've talked all this time about Alex training his brain to ignore the fear of death. But in that interview, when he was asked what his greatest fear actually is, do you know what he said?
What did he say?
He said he's more afraid of public embarrassment than he is of death.
Wow.
His exact words were, death before dishonor. He's willing to risk falling 1,600 feet, but he is terrified of looking like he didn't know what he's doing in front of a crowd.
Which means, in a really strange way, the millions of people watching him tonight.
Right.
We are the scariest part of the climb for him.
Exactly. The crowd is the real danger. Think about that. Thanks for diving deep with us.
We'll see you on the other side. Stay safe.